Are you looking for a way to help your brick-and-mortar business drive more traffic and increase your sales? Look no further than the Receipt Paper Podcast. In this podcast, Joann and Kyle provide their sage advice on how to make your brick-and-mortar store the hottest spot in town. Whether you're just launching a new business or trying to grow an existing one, these informative episodes will leave you inspired. In each episode, Joann and Kyle take on a different topic related to running a successful business. They offer practical tips based on their own experience as owners of multiple brick-and-mortar locations. So whatever challenges you're facing, they have actionable advice for you. From finding a location and executing your build-out, to merchandising and customer experience, to sales and marketing, Joann and Kyle have you covered. With helpful advice from these experienced entrepreneurs, you are sure to learn how to increase your sales and have your business running out of receipt paper in no time. Let's dive right in.
Welcome, friends. Welcome, everybody. My name is Kyle Strubing, and welcome to episode number 1 of the Receipt Paper Podcast. My name is Kyle Strubing. I am coming to you live and local from Coppell, Texas. I am here with my partner in life, my partner in crime, and my partner in business, Miss Joann Mester, soon to be Joann Strubing. Jojo, how are we doing today?
We are good. That was quite the intro.
I'm trying. I'm excited. Are you? Episode 1. We've been talking about this for a while.
I am pumped. We have been talking about this for quite some time now, and I'm so excited that we're finally sitting down to do this, to bring some value to people out there.
Bringing that value. All right. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about what it is, what we're trying to do today, and get into a little bit about your origin story. So once we get started.
Yeah, so today we are going to dive into the 5 things that we wish we knew before we open a brick and mortar business. So super excited to share that with you. But before we dive into that, I wanted to share a little bit about our origin story. How the heck did we get into the world of brick and mortar business? Why are we here? Why are we on this podcast? So about 5 years ago, Kyle and I dove into this world of brick and mortar business. We were looking for a way to just bring in some secondary income. We were both working in the corporate world full time, but we wanted to start a little side gig, and we weren't sure what that would look like. But our friend actually opened a franchise, and so we watched him go through that process, and we fell in love with those products, and we were like, what is he doing? So we went, met with him a couple of times, fell in love with the idea, and we just went all in. Next thing we knew, I think we were opening the doors to our store less than 3 months later, which is pretty crazy to think about now.
It was a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah. So we opened our first store in 2018. We quickly grew to 3 stores, I think, within a year. It was a pretty wild time. We fell in love with the process of, opening stores and seeing what we could do, generating profit-wise. 3 wound up being a bit too much for us to handle. We were in a little over our heads. We were both still working full time. So we brought 2 of those stores to a profitable status and wound up selling them to people that we still communicate to and help out today.
We sold one of them twice.
Yeah.
Actually. It's a story to be told later. But
story for another day.
Yeah,
there.
For sure.
So then we went back and focused on our one store. The first store that we ever opened was kind of our baby, and we wanted to see how we could grow that business. And the wild thing is once we went back to focus on just that one store, we were really able to double our revenue there, and it continues to grow, month over month today. And it's been an amazing process. Kyle wound up leaving his job in the corporate world, going full time into owning and operating the store. And
I think that's been a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know if I'll ever be able to work for anybody ever again. So it's better work, right? But she's 100% on board there, and it was good to kind of get back into to focus on the one store as opposed to the 3. We were able to really dig in, and we were a lot more proactive than we were reactive.
Yeah.
When you had the 3, but it can be done, certainly.
Yeah.
It's definitely a different mentality, but yeah,
right.
For sure.
Yeah. We know a lot of people that successfully run multiple brick and mortar businesses. I think for us, it just didn't meet our needs and goals at the time. While we were on this journey, I had the opportunity to be on the board of the franchise, where I spent 2 years helping franchise owners that were just beginning in the franchise, just starting out, helping them open their doors, as well as the ones that were already there, helping them grow. And through that process and a lot of long late night chats with Kyle, we realized there was a lot of people that just didn't know what they were doing or what they were getting themselves into. And while I'd like to say the franchise had a lot of resources, they didn't always have the right resources to help. And
The passion was there, the direction or the guidance just it was to be desired. But
yeah, and there's so many resources out there for online businesses, right? Like how to use social media,
right,
how to create courses, how to drive more traffic with SEO, but as far as resources for brick and mortar businesses, there it's really lacking out
right.
there. It's really hard to find. So we really wanted to dedicate some time and energy into how can we get out there and reach people that want to open or are already opening a brick and mortar business, to bring them some value. We want to share with you what we learned to do and what we learned not to do.
Mostly what not to do. I feel like any lesson I've ever learned in my life has been through failure or something like that. All right, you got to learn the hard way. So
Right. So our hopes for you with this podcast is really that you can learn from us so that you don't have to make the same mistakes that we did. We'll be out there as your guinea pigs trying things and sharing with you what works and what didn't work. So
and that's part of it. We want to get the interaction up. We're here to help. And if you have an experience one way or the other, it's good to hear that. That helps. Some things that you did that you made a mistake. Someone else can totally learn from that, and that's there's power in that for sure.
so Kyle, tell us what people, those listening, what can they expect from this podcast? This is the first episode. What's to come?
Well, hopefully we get better and better at it. But no, definitely what we want to do is get with you guys once a week here. I'd like to see that. We're going to do go have a couple staples throughout the podcast as it grows. One of which is to take some of y'all's questions. That is one thing that we will do later, and we will answer questions at least one a week. Try to do that. We'll be getting some guests on as well, other people that we respect, people that we've learned from, and maybe some controversial people. I don't know. We'll see where it goes from there. We'll see where it goes from
Not
there.
too controversial.
Yeah, we want to keep it. But we do want to keep it entertaining. But we also want to keep it, something that you guys get out of it for sure. So we'll be delving into a lot of things. And one of the things too, I know Joann says that you will be able. There are show notes, and all of this stuff will be backed up online. We'll be sharing a lot of that. So if you are taking notes, especially in some of these sessions, or some of the time coming up here in a little bit, where Joann's going to go over a few different things. Definitely you can note that, but we'll also be releasing a lot of that and some of that, the protocols and whatnot for what you guys need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jojo. So if you want to get that going,
Yeah.
start with the first one, kind of our first lesson, opening lesson. I think she's got some pretty excellent things to share right off. So Joann,
Yeah.
take it away with what you got.
Yeah, so diving into the meat and potatoes of today's podcast, we're focusing on the 5 things that we wish we knew someone would have told us before we opened
Right.
our brick and mortar business. So these are things that we've learned along the way, but hopefully for those of you who maybe haven't opened or are in the very beginning, you can still learn from these things. So the first one is location is everything. And this might seem simple and obvious, but I can tell you, as you start your brick and mortar business journey and start going down those rabbit holes of evaluating different locations, it's really easy to start looking at that cheaper location and making it look pretty in your mind and not taking maybe the more expensive location, because of cost or just because you're going down and evaluating so many locations. But I can tell you from experience that going with the ultimate best location, we're talking front and center location, is going to help you out in the long run. I always say imagine your location as a giant billboard because, guess what? It it
Right.
it is. It's a giant billboard, and the more people that see it, the more people it's just, the name of the game. The more people are going to come through your doors, right?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. Yeah, and
So,
it's, a lot of this I think kind of boils down to, almost taking a step back and removing emotion a little bit from this, would you say? I
yeah.
mean, I know with us, we had looked at a million places and it was like we just at some point you just want to get in. And it's nice to kind of take a step back and say, okay, are we prioritizing these things that are eventually going to make us money? Because that's truly what it is all about. Yes, following passion, but you do want this to be
Right.
profitable.
Yeah, I think in the beginning we had a budget and we wanted to follow that budget. And I'm certainly not telling you to go out there and exceed your budget on your rent costs, but just know that whatever you save on your rent costs, you are likely going to have to double in your marketing costs.
100%.
Um, I mean, I see time and time again store owners that have this brilliant, amazing idea of a brick and mortar business, but they go with that unit that it's at the very back. You can't see it. It's impossible to get to. And unfortunately, many times they fail. And it's so hard to watch and see. And then you see someone that maybe doesn't even have the greatest
Man, I've seen
business
some
idea,
turds.
but they're really successful, right? Because everybody
Yeah,
sees them. They want to go check them out. Maybe their store experience is awful.
right.
They're getting a lot of people through their doors, right?
I like to think some of it's like it's dumb luck. I'll go into some locations, obviously not going to say anything, but you're just like, how in the world are you guys still open at this point? And it's location. It just is that foot traffic or that vehicle traffic. You just can't. I mean, you
Right.
can't outsell a bad location. It's something about it. I
It's
mean,
so true.
there's ways to mitigate that
Yeah.
certainly, but I mean, I just every time I drive, sometimes I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. From our experience, our first business was a bit of a controversial business that was
sure,
we had some legalities. A lot of people weren't wanting to let us rent
we
the
were
space.
ahead of our time. Let's
Yes,
put it that way.
yes.
Let's put it that way.
So, we wound up having restrictions on what types
Right.
of location we could get. So our first store wasn't an ideal location. It was the best one we could find and get
Sure.
approved for, but it was towards the back of the unit. And when we opened the second and third, they were much more prime spots. You could see them from the highway, see them from the
Right.
road. And in the beginning, it was just those other locations. There were so many more people naturally, organically walking in. And, with our first location, it took us some time to get there. So, I think, as you go through those beginning stages of vetting out location, really take the time to find the location that's going to be the best. Don't get too eager and excited to open your doors and just take a location just because it's a location.
Because I mean, you're married to that thing then from 3 to 5 or however long of a lease that you
10.
sign. 10. Yeah, I mean that's huge. So it does. I know a lot of times timing does play into it, but you just gotta not be emotional on it. I
Yeah.
know that was, you know, I don't know. I don't feel like we rushed on the first one, but there was the conversation was had of like, look, hey, it's kind of do or die here, and and I'm glad that it happened that way. But I mean, that really happened with the location, but it was definitely a process for sure.
Yeah. So number one, location is everything. Let's move on to number two, Kyle.
Cool. Number two, start simple, get fancy later. So, talking about that second location, we had seen everything, kind of done everything. And a thing that I noticed when you do your first build out, right? It's everything has to be absolutely perfect. Everything has to be on point all the way to, I mean, obviously you want everything to look nice, but customers do not give a about if the baseboard in the corner that you can barely see has a little scuff on it. They do not care. You need to think, what is going to get us. For us, it was product and being able to run a card. That's what we wanted and open our doors. We did. I believe us and who we did it with, what was it, 72 hours or something like that to complete the build out.
Yeah.
I mean, it was insanity. We were doing these things at 2, 3 in the morning, and I'm not saying that that's what you should do, but that was priority. It wasn't, does this, that, and the other have all of the correct paint color? People don't, like, your customers don't care about that. Like, they just don't. They want to see all types of other things as opposed to that. Also, like that cool fountain that's $1,200 or whatever, like get that shit later, pardon my French, but get that stuff later. Like you can still work that goal. First impressions are great, but they want to know more about the customer experience, or are you providing the knowledge necessary to bring them back? Are they getting that top level customer service? And I don't even know what are some smaller things that just don't. I mean, it matters, but it just dollars and cents. It doesn't.
We're certainly not saying, throw up a fold-out table and open your doors. You want a mild good first impression, but Kyle always says, whenever we're buying something, because I love the decorating side. I love that. But he's always asking me, what's the ROI on this, Joann? And when I'm looking at, some $2,000 furniture upgrade that we want, there's not much ROI on that. So, I think our first store, we had a budget of $28,000 to open our doors, including the franchise fee. And so we had to cut a lot of costs. And there were a lot of things that I was like, oh man, I really want this to look better. I wanted to replace the tile. I wanted to replace the ceiling tiles. I wanted to do so much, but we wound up scrapping a lot of that in the beginning.
Continue to scrap.
Yeah, because it's like, and our customers don't walk through the door and say, oh my gosh, that ceiling tile has a stain on it. There's just so many things start simple and get fancy later. I love this saying so much. You can add things as you go down the road, but the one thing you don't want to do when you open your doors is be in debt of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you're so much is going to change as you open you're going to figure out the customer flow, the products that are selling,
you're going to grow into your store. You're going to grow into that unit. So you don't even, and it's kind of what I was going to say, but like, you don't even know what you don't know. Like your business might go totally different, or the customers, you might find customers' attention is drawn somewhere else, or the experience is off based off of some other product that you have. You'll grow into it. It's like buying a new house, right? And you changing outlets. I wish this was there. I wish this was there. So just be fluid with it and focus more on that ROI. Focus on that dollar. You're spending money, on product and marketing for the first however long till you get to what you need, that threshold, and then make that, then make that decision.
Right. I think, as you take action, you grow clarity in your business, and just opening your doors, starting to take that action, you're going to learn so much. So, don't think you have to open your doors and everything needs to be perfect from day one.
Clean the floors and stuff, but don't, make sure that we're good to go here.
Don't dirty, get fancy.
Yeah.
Start simple.
Start simple, get fancy. Yeah, so that's the number. That's number 2. Start simple, get fancy later. Number 3, Jojo, you want to get into that one?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting one. Number 3 is diversify your offerings. So this is one that I think took us a while to learn. But it really made such a huge impact on our revenue. So what do I mean by diversify your offerings? So essentially, if you are starting off as a product-based business, consider adding in some services. Or if you're starting off as a service-based business, what products can complement your services? Or is there another product line in addition to the one you already have that can complement your core business? So looking at those ways that can drive traffic to your store that might, cross promote and cross sell those products can make a huge impact.
Tap into different markets and things like that. We look at, I think the shift in mindset for us was when we sat there and looked. And we're like, hey, what are people coming in for? What is the solution that we provide? And then we said, okay, well, people have, for us, anxiety, pain, stress, stuff like that, right? That's typically that's what we solve in specific different businesses that we have. where else can we help that? What else can we get into that would also help, like Joe just said, complement or accentuate their recovery process or their stress, things of that nature. And that's really taking that step back and looking at where you're at, as opposed to just adding something that you think is cool, or you may ask the customers, like, why did you come in here today? Like, it gets down to customer experience, but like, yes, you want this, but like, what are we really talking about? And that really opens up a can of worms for you to kind of use your expertise and then pivot your customer experience and your offerings to that.
Yeah. Yeah. So we started out primarily just product-based businesses.
Yeah,
We're
100%.
selling health and wellness products.
Right.
And a lot of people didn't have a lot of information about these products. It wasn't super well known at the time. And so we were like, okay, what do people do that have stress and anxiety? And so we found some services that people are already naturally drawn to, massage therapy, sauna,
Right.
float therapy. They we're already using these services for anxiety, sleep, pain. So by opening those services at our store, we were getting our target demographic coming into our store to use those services, which at that time, then we could cross-sell our products, talk
Right.
to them about our products.
Right.
So it really just offering those services not only grew another revenue stream of those services, but we saw our product sales increase a ton by diversifying.
Well, and our value per customer is through the roof. A regular customer of ours spends more with us than anybody else. And I'm not saying that as braggadocious because we're the greatest seller, but we have these different products and services to use at our disposal to help these people essentially. And that's, I mean, I know, yeah, you want to help people, but you have to be able to provide value, or even to look at it like that, provide a solution or provide value to these people in multiple different ways. And it just works out.
Yeah, I think another example of this is we used to have a smoothie factory next to us, and they actually had a meal prep service that they partnered with
Right.
to offer meal prep, and people would basically just come to their smoothie factory to pick up their meals. And I thought this was genius, because now they're offering this meal prep service, but people are coming to pick up that meal prep, and what are they doing? They're buying a smoothie while they're there.
For sure.
So, finding those ways to offer, something, another service, another product, something that's going to draw traffic to your store that's not your core business,
Right.
but draws people to your business. So, if you start thinking about those things from the beginning, I think it can just make a big difference in the long run, right?
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. Number 4.
Numero quattro. Customer data is gold. I mean, do I have to say any more? Data capture is the number one. I mean, your net worth is your net worth, right? That's what they say. And the more data we capture, email addresses, texts, things like that, the better our months are. It's key. Those reward systems. I mean, I can't tell you that is the number one thing for us, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, this is one thing that I don't think we realized the value of from day one.
Right.
There was a lot of people coming to our store. We were just so caught up in making sure they had a positive experience that
Making sure we rang the products up correctly.
it can be overwhelming, but we weren't capturing a lot of customer data.
Right.
What we mean by customer data is their emails, their phone number. How are you going to reach back out to them? How do we get them back into your doors? So, and one of the best things that we do consistently to this day is email our customers weekly, bringing them some sort of value or telling them about events and promotions. And, when we have a slower day, we are able to send out a text blast and say, hey, free gift with purchase, or whatever it is to get them back through the door. And one of the best ways to do that is by collecting customer data. And how we do that in our store is by far our rewards program, like Kyle said. Yeah. So having a rewards program is key because, when you ask a customer as they're checking out, hey, what's your email? that's not very enticing. But when you say, hey, we've got a rewards program, the more points you
Now, let's
earn.
get you your points in there. Let's get you these discounts for sure.
The more discounts you get, I mean, we have customers that are obsessed with this rewards program, right?
Sure.
They're always like, how many points do I have? How many points do I have? But it's a very enticing way to give people to give you their email and phone number. The rewards program that we love is called Tap Mango.
For sure.
We swear by it. We've used it for 5 years now?
5 years now. Yeah. It's by far our number one. We think we get the biggest ROI from 100%.
Yeah. We've actually got a free resource for you on this that shares a little bit more with you about Tap Mango. You can set up a free demo.
Right.
If you go to masterbrickandmortar.com/Tap Mango, that's TAPMANGO. You can check that out more. We'll get you set up with a demo there. But this product is phenomenal. Tap Mango actually does a lot more than just rewards. They even have like a mobile online app that you can sell to products. They have a ton of functionality there, but being able to collect that customer data is huge. So you can retarget your customers. You work so hard in the beginning to get people through your doors. And the last thing you want them to do is walk out of your door and never see them again. You want to be able to retarget them, get them back in the door. Tap Mango has this cool feature where if a customer hasn't been in your door, you can set it to 60, 90 days. But I think ours is set to 60 days. If a customer hasn't been in 60 days, because normally we see customers once a month, they shoot them a promotion and try to get them back in the door. And it's automatically sending that to the customers, automatically reaching out to them behind the scenes. No, we don't have to worry about it. So it's just a fabulous feature. I love being able to, email customers anytime we have an event or a promotion. It's huge, 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 huge. And I look back and I think if we would have been collecting customer data from day one, how much bigger would our email and phone list be? But
we launch new products with it. We launch new services with it. Everything. The tracking on the back end is fantastic. I mean, as we dig in, I'll show you guys kind of how it's, I know you could walk into a Panera Bread and people are like, oh, they're asking for your email and your name and you're like, what is this? Why do you have this information? I can go over some different tips and tricks on how to kind of get them to make it a little bit softer of a sell to get their information in. But 100%, you ask everybody. I mean, everybody gets put through it for sure.
Yeah.
And I think, it's hands down, it's the best way. So definitely go check out Tap Mango for sure. That's TAPM as in Mary, AN as in Nancy, GO. Tap Mango.
Yeah, key. Huge for your growth. I think that's a big one. So customer data is gold. Number 4. Moving on to number 5, the art of customer service. This is an area that I think Kyle really mastered so well and has taught me so much about just being able to master that experience that customers and clients get when they walk into your doors. And it's such a big reason as to why we still have customers 5 years later that still come that, what do you say, Kyle? We don't have customers, we have fans. Right?
Yeah.
They continue to come back to our door. They are out there advocating for us, telling everybody how amazing we are. And, we're not tooting our own horn. We're telling you that this is possible for you. And it's an area that you want to focus on.
You have to. Yeah. I mean, it's your store. You need to be passionate about it, and you need to value the people that come in. There's different methodologies on, in different ways to do customer service and things like that, but it's everything. Why are people going to drive past three of your competitors to get to your store? It's because of your customer service.
Right.
It just is. You want to do right by your customers. You have to know your product. I mean, it's top. It really is.
Yeah. And, we're competing against online. I'm not going to
100%.
I'll be honest about that. And the whole reason that I go shop in stores over online is because of the experience I'm going to have in that store. some ways that we provide that experience, like get to know your customers. Do you know their names? Do you know their little dog Mitzi? What take
You forget them, man. So I do. After 5 years, it gets to be a little much, but I still act like I still know that. You know what I mean? I still act like
you know something about their life.
I know something about that,
Yeah.
100%. And it's I know that that's probably I should be better about that. Certainly something to work for. But like, just if you look at them like they've been there before, or that they're just give them that openness and comfort, and it is like an extension of your house.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just they're your guest.
Yeah.
I truly believe in that.
Kyle took kind of the front of operating the store for quite a few years, and I would get jealous when I'd come in on the weekends and people are like, "Where's Kyle? Where's Kyle? We want to talk to Kyle." And we're like, what? Just talk to Kyle, but it's because of the experience that he provides and offers, and they've built a relationship with
That's
him.
it. It's a relationship.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and it's great, and it's so possible, and it's really neat to see. I think some other ways that you can provide an incredible experiences with sampling, and talking about new products, taking that time to say, hey, here's this new cool thing I just wanted to tell you about, or hey, here's a sample.
Yeah, I've been seeing you coming around for a little bit. You've been coming here for what, 5, 6 months? Here, try some of this. Get back to me and let me know about it. Give them a sense of ownership, almost in the
Yes.
store that they have. Like they kind of get a buy-in, and they're like, hey, and they'll come back in a couple of weeks and buy their regular product and be like, hey, that tea that you gave me, it was horrible. But they just appreciated an opportunity to give their feedback, and they know that you value them, and you do.
Right. Yeah. I think offering people education or insight on the industry, talking to them about that, they start looking at you as like an expert. That's another way to give them just a great overall
Yeah, that's
experience.
huge.
And giving, we probably do it too much, but giving away freebies, gifts with purchase, like people value that. They see that as,
Yeah, don't give away your highest margin product or anything like that,
no.
but like a little something it goes a long way.
Or with
It
their
really does.
services, well, if they buy a huge dollar package, hey, why don't you jump in the sauna for free on us
Sure.
since you just bought a 10-pack of XYZ?
Yeah.
There's just so many ways, and we could probably do a whole podcast
Sure.
episode
You
on
probably will, yeah.
just the customer experience. But this is an area that you really want to start with from day one. That how can you incorporate something into your customer experience that you do on a daily basis that sets you apart from what others are doing out there? And one thing that helped us master this is we went to our competition and saw what they were doing, and it was very, very transactional, and it was very uneducational. We felt like we left more confused about the product sometimes.
Right.
And so we decided that we wanted to look at our experience and give something totally different than what they were getting out
We
there.
saw opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, we really did. We saw opportunity to be the Chick-fil-A of your of your niche. I mean, do it. Just do what everybody else does, but do it better.
Yeah.
Just do it better.
Or find a gap that's out there that
Right.
that's not there, and
Right.
and go take that on in your own business. So I think we dove into a lot here today.
I think it's
Yeah.
a good first crack.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
So let's
sure.
recap. So we dove into the 5 things that Kyle and I wish we knew before we opened. Number 1 was location is everything. Don't skimp on that location.
Absolutely.
2 was start simple, get fancy later. 3, diversify your offerings. That's products, services. See what other product lines or services you can utilize to draw people back in and cross sell your promotions. Number 4 was customer data is gold. Start collecting that customer data from day one. You will thank us later.
And use Tap Mango. Use Tap Mango to do it.
And number 5 was the art of customer service that we just dove in now. Really, really looking at your customer experience and how you can provide value there. I think that was a lot for today.
I think that's a lot. Yeah, there will be no test on that. But also, Joann, why don't you tell them where they can find the show notes and stuff? Because like you said, it was a lot. I'm sure I couldn't write that fast if I was taking notes.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell them where they can find us and where all this stuff will be?
Yeah, so we've got all of our show notes where you can go over these 5 principles that we went over today. You can get a guide to that at masterbrickandmortar.com/1. That's the number 1, masterbrickandmortar.com/1. You can find the show notes, get some additional resources. We've also got a link on our show notes to our Facebook group. This is a private group that we offer for free for people that are getting started in brick and mortar or already have a brick and mortar business. We like to share all of our resources, step-by-step guides. We do some challenges in the groups. It's really fun. So if you're looking to get involved and get even more resources, go check out the show notes. You can find the link to that.
There's some gold in there for sure. There's for sure some gold in there.
So Kyle, you mentioned your question from...
You did have a question. We had a question. This was submitted to me on the Facebook group, so definitely get in there and check that out. This is from Dan. Dan says, Kyle and Joann was curious of your thoughts on the commercial real estate market now, where you think it's going, and do you see any opportunity? Right? Great question, Dan. Love that. Yes, I read an article about this earlier this week. There is a ton of commercial real estate available. A lot of it, I think, has to do with the office, with like the general office complexes and office space, the bigger corporations. But there is definitely some retail space out there as well. So, I mean, my thoughts, 100%, right? You have to kind of make that decision for yourself. But I've always been told by, smart man, aka Joann's dad, he always tells me, when everybody is selling, you need to be buying, and when everyone is buying, you need to be selling. So I think that there is opportunity out there, 100%. I think that people are down there ready to negotiate. We are looking at elites now, so there's a lot of different things that they're willing to be a little bit more, offer some more incentives. I think there can be, some opportunity to get some larger T&I bonuses. I think, there is opportunity there. I think if you have the right niche, nothing can stop you. I do. Don't get me wrong. You follow certain things for sure. But speaking to contacts within things that I've read, I think they are aggressively looking to fill these, kind of fill these spots, right? It wouldn't dissuade me as much. It just really wouldn't.
Yeah, well, the pandemic did, unfortunately bring a lot of businesses to closure. I think at the same time, it brought a lot of opportunity for
fill these units.
Those units. And I can tell you, our business is booming better than it was before the pandemic.
Right.
People are back out shopping. We all know that. But, we really haven't seen any
But that's something to be learned, right? Like, is your business built to sustain a freaking pandemic? Like, like ours is because we did it. But like, you need to be as confident that's not gonna, that's not gonna dissuade you. I think, but also, do you have a solution for that? Is it something that people, is it not dispensable income? Is this something that people truly need? Is this something that people are truly going to value? And you'll continue to hold your worth,
Yeah. There's a lot of ways to kind of validate your business idea that we can dive into another day. But,
For sure.
As far as the commercial real estate market, I think it's a great time to be out there looking at units. I think you can get a prime time unit like we talked about earlier. Location being everything, now's probably the time to get one of those amazing locations that could really bring you a lot of success more than,
There's certainly more availability than there was 5 years ago when we first started getting into this.
Yeah.
I mean, you have more options now. Maybe the cost might be, I think relatively, it's probably a little higher, but it's still there. The availability is there, and everybody was so tight 5 years ago. Now it's there. I think people will be more other landlords would be willing to take chances on some not as well-known businesses or maybe something a little counterculture or whatever. I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting. But yeah, that was a great question by Dan. Make sure you guys submit those. We'll try to go over those as much as possible. And it doesn't need to be business related. If you guys want to know anything about us, whatever, anything about the dogs, they're both doing great. But no, if you guys want to learn anything, please submit those. You can do that via the Facebook group or where else, Joann? Where's our Instagram page? Brick-and-Mortar.
Our Instagram's at Master Brick-and-Mortar. You can always shoot us an email at info@Master Brick-and-Mortar. Anywhere you can find us, reach out.
That's Brick, BRICKN, as in Nancy, Mortar.
We had to get trendy with it.
Yeah, trendy with it. No dashes. No dashes. Brick and Mortar. So no, I think episode 1 in the books. Jojo, what do you think? We did it?
I'm excited. I'm super excited for what's to come on this podcast. We're going to come up with some great topics for you each week. If you have any topic recommendations, feel free to shoot us our way. But great episode.
I'm scared to listen to it back, but I'm excited that it's over with. First one in the books. Awesome. But no, good job. Good job.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. See you in the Facebook group.
We'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to the Receipt Paper Podcast, your go-to source of information for starting and growing a successful brick-and-mortar business. Subscribe to hear future episodes and share this content so that more people can access these valuable insights. If you're looking for more resources to help you with your brick-and-mortar business, visit masterbrickandmortar.com or follow us on Instagram at masterbrickandmortar. Thanks again for listening to the Receipt Paper Podcast. We'll see you in the next episode.